Type 1, the spotlight feeder. Picture this. You're at a house party. Music's playing. People are talking in little circles. And there's that one person who somehow keeps drifting to the center of every conversation, like gravity has a personal vendetta. They're telling a story. Halfway through, they pause. Not because they forgot what happened, but because they're checking faces. Did you laugh? Did you react? Are you still looking at them? That's the spotlight feeder. To everyone else, they look confident, outgoing, maybe even a little dramatic. But what's really happening is simpler. Their sense of self runs on external Wi-Fi, and every nod, smile, or laugh is a full signal bar. When the room is engaged, they're unstoppable. Jokes land, stories get better, energy stays high. But the second attention shifts, someone else starts talking, phones come out, the moment passes. It's like someone dimmed the lights. They don't get angry, they don't cause a scene, they just deflate. So they compensate. They talk a bit louder, they add another detail to the story, they grab their phone, scroll, look busy, not because they're bored, but because being ignored feels suspiciously close to disappearing. Stillness is their enemy. They're not addicted to applause, they're allergic to being unseen. People are mirrors for them. Without reflection, their identity feels fuzzy, like trying to recognize yourself in a dark window. If you've ever seen someone who seems completely alive in a crowd, but strangely empty the moment they're alone, congratulations. You've spotted a spotlight feeder in the wild. They don't need people to dominate the room. They need people to confirm they're still in it. Type 2, the noise escaper. Imagine you're riding in a car with someone and the radio suddenly cuts out. No music, no talking, just engine noise and road sounds. Before the silence even settles, they reach for the volume knob like it's a live grenade. That's the noise escaper. This extrovert is never technically alone. If there's no one around, they'll call someone. If no one picks up, they'll scroll. If the phone dies, suddenly the TV is on. Not to watch anything, just to make sure the room isn't too quiet. They're the friend who always has plans, and backup plans, and a group chat for the backup plans. From the outside, it looks like they're social butterflies. People think they just love company. But what they really love is distraction, because silence is not peaceful to them. Silence is loud. When things slow down, their brain starts filling the space with unfinished thoughts, awkward memories, and uncomfortable questions they've been postponing since 2016. So they stay busy, not productive busy, socially busy. They'll talk about anything, weather, random drama, that one weird thing that happened 3 years ago. The topic doesn't matter, the noise does. This is why they struggle with being alone in a room. Not because they're lonely, but because solitude removes the buffer. Without people talking, laughing, reacting, there's nothing standing between them and their own thoughts. So people become background sound. Conversation becomes insulation. And the moment things get quiet, you'll notice the discomfort. Fidgeting, phone checking, random comments that don't really need to be said. They're not avoiding you, they're avoiding themselves. For the noise escaper, people aren't just company. They're a volume control. As long as the world stays loud enough, they don't have to listen to what's happening inside. Type 3, the emotional plug-in. Picture a phone that works perfectly. As long as it's connected to a charger, the moment you unplug it, the battery starts dropping suspiciously fast, 10%, 7%. Suddenly it's in low power mode, dimmer, slower, less responsive. That's the emotional plug-in. This extrovert feels fine, great even. After spending time with people, they're lighter, more optimistic. Suddenly life feels manageable again, problems shrink, motivation returns. Everything clicks back into place, but leave them alone too long and things start to drain. They don't spiral immediately, it's subtler than that. Their mood dips for no obvious reason. Small things feel heavier. Energy disappears, they start wondering what's wrong, even though nothing actually happened. So they reach out, a call, a meetup, a quick hangout that turns into 4 hours. Not because they're bored, not because they need attention, but because being around people stabilizes them. They use social interaction the way some people use coffee. One hit and suddenly they can function again. This extrovert isn't chasing fun, they're chasing regulation. They process emotions out loud. Talking helps them sort things. Laughing resets them. Presence grounds them. Without that external input, their internal world feels unbalanced, like a table with one leg shorter than the others. You'll notice they cancel plans when they're already feeling low. Not because they don't care, but because they don't have the energy to plug back in yet. And once they finally do see someone, it's like watching a dim room slowly light up again. They're not dependent on people. They're just wired to stabilize themselves through connection, not isolation. For the emotional plug-in, people aren't entertainment. They're emotional power outlets. And when the battery runs low, being alone feels less like rest and more like watching the percentage drop, with no charger in sight. Type 4. The social controller. Imagine a group of friends trying to decide where to eat. Everyone's throwing out ideas, pizza, burgers, that new place downtown. The conversation starts drifting, and then one person steps in. Okay, let's do this. We'll go there, sit outside, order quickly, and be done by 9. That's the social controller. This extrovert doesn't just like being around people, they like organizing people, not in a bossy way. More like a traffic cop waving cars through an intersection before chaos breaks out. They choose the plans. They steer the conversations. They subtly decide who sits where and when it's time to leave. From the outside, they look confident, calm, in charge. The person everyone relies on to figure things out. But what's really happening is that uncertainty makes them itch. Unstructured social situations feel slippery, unpredictable, like standing on a floor that might move. So they manage it. If they're directing the flow, nothing can surprise them. If they know what's happening next, they can finally relax. Control becomes their seatbelt. You'll notice this extrovert gets uneasy when plans are vague. We'll see makes them uncomfortable. Open-ended hangouts stress them out. Someone else taking over the group energy? That's when they start hovering again. They're not trying to dominate, they're trying to stabilize. People, for them, are variables. And variables need structure. When they're in charge, everything feels safe, predictable, contained. When they're not, anxiety starts pacing back and forth like it just drank 3 coffees. So they step up. They organize, they take control. Not because they crave power, but because letting go feels like standing in the middle of a storm without an umbrella. For the social controller, people aren't just companions. They're moving parts. And as long as they can keep the machine running smoothly, they can breathe. Type 5. The shapeshifter. Think about that one friend who feels like a completely different person depending on who they're with. With one group, they're loud and sarcastic. With another, they're calm and thoughtful. With family, they suddenly become responsible and polite like they switched personalities at the door. That's the shapeshifter. They're not fake. They're flexible. This extrovert is incredibly good at reading the room. Almost too good. They instinctively match energy, humor, opinions, even body language. Drop them into any group and they'll blend in like a social chameleon changing colors mid-conversation. People usually admire this about them. Wow, they get along with everyone. But here's the quiet part no one sees. When the room empties, when there's no group to match, when it's just them, alone, something feels missing. Without other people around, there's no reference point, no feedback, no social mirror to bounce off. Their personality, which normally feels fluid and alive, suddenly feels undefined, like a character waiting for a script. So they seek people, not for attention, not for noise, but for context. Different people unlock different versions of them. Each group gives them a role to play, a tone to adopt, a version of themselves that feels real in that moment. Alone, that clarity fades. You'll notice they struggle with questions like, so who are you really? Because the honest answer is complicated. They are all those versions. People don't just keep them company. People give them shape. For the shapeshifter, social interaction isn't about connection. It's about definition. Being around others helps them remember who they are right now. Without that reflection, their identity doesn't disappear. It just feels unfinished, like a sentence that hasn't decided how it wants to end. Type 6. The charming shield. Think of that person everyone instantly likes. They're funny without trying, easy to talk to, great at keeping conversations light, smooth, effortless. You can joke with them for hours, but somehow never end up talking about anything real. That's the charming shield. This extrovert is socially polished. They know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to say it in a way that keeps things pleasant. Awkward moments disappear around them. Tension melts. Conversations glide. But try to steer things deeper. Feelings, fears, something personal. And suddenly the tone changes. A joke appears. The topic shifts. The moment floats away. It's not accidental, it's protective. For them, charm isn't just a personality trait, it's a barrier. As long as things stay fun, likable, and easy, no one gets close enough to see what's underneath. And that's exactly how they prefer it. You'll notice they're amazing in groups, but vague one-on-one. Warm, but oddly distant. Always present, yet emotionally just out of reach, like talking to someone through glass. They use people to stay connected without being exposed. Vulnerability feels risky to them, messy, unpredictable. Once you open that door, you can't control what comes out, or how someone might react. So instead, they keep things bright and breezy. Humor becomes camouflage. Charm becomes armor. People walk away thinking they're great, but rarely thinking, I really know them. And that's the point. For the charming shield, people aren't there to be let in. They're there to keep things safe. As long as everyone's smiling, laughing, and having a good time, nothing uncomfortable can sneak through. Type 7, the status surfer. Picture a party where there are two conversations happening. One is loud, chaotic, and fun. The other is quieter, tighter, the kind where people lower their voices a little and lean in. Watch carefully. You'll see one person subtly drift toward the second group. That's the status surfer. This extrovert has a radar. They instantly pick up on who has influence, who's admired, who seems important in the room. It's not about money or fame. Sometimes it's just confidence, reputation, or social gravity. And without making a big show of it, they position themselves right there. They don't force it. They don't beg for attention. They just attach. From the outside, it can look strategic, calculated, maybe even a little shallow. But what's really happening is that status makes them feel anchored. When they're around people who feel relevant, respected, or admired, they feel upgraded by association, like standing next to a lighthouse instead of floating alone in the dark. You'll notice they're restless in rooms where no one stands out. Small talk bores them. Flat social energy drains them. But put them in a space where hierarchy exists, even an unspoken one, and suddenly they come alive. They're not chasing power. They're chasing orientation. Being near status helps them answer the quiet question, where do I fit in this world? People become reference points, social ladders, signals that say, you're in the right place, you matter here. Without that signal, they feel unmoored, like they're drifting socially with no current to ride. For the status surfer, people aren't just connections, they're coordinates. And as long as they stay close to the right ones, they know exactly where they stand. Type 8, the reality anchor. Imagine floating in a swimming pool with your eyes closed. At first it's relaxing, quiet, weightless. Then you open your eyes, and for a split second, you're not sure which way is up. That's what being alone feels like for the reality anchor. This extrovert doesn't just enjoy company, they need it to feel real. When people are around, everything sharpens. Conversations feel solid, time feels structured, moments land properly, life has edges. But when they're alone too long, something strange happens. Hours blur together, days feel thin. Nothing feels urgent, but nothing feels meaningful either. They're not sad, they're not anxious. They're just slightly untethered. You'll notice they hate being alone at night, or on long weekends, or during stretches with no plans. Not because they're lonely, but because solitude makes reality feel foggy, like trying to focus a camera that won't quite lock in. So they reach out. Not to talk about anything specific, not even to be entertained, just to hear a voice, see a face, exist with someone else in the same moment. People act like gravity for them. Being around others pulls them back into focus. Conversations ground them. Laughter reminds them time is moving forward in a normal way. Without that anchor, their inner world starts to drift. Thoughts loop, time stretches. Everything feels oddly disconnected, like life is happening a few inches away from them. For the reality anchor, people aren't a distraction. They're a reference point. They don't socialize to fill silence. They socialize to feel present. Because when no one's there to reflect the moment back to them, reality doesn't disappear. It just feels strangely out of reach. And being untethered like that is far more unsettling than most people realize. If you liked the video, watch these as well. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next.